because back then I did not have much volunteer assistance at all. This is in the early days of Save the Frogs. We weren't even a year old, but we were able to get that much happening. So I thought that was great and said, see what we can do. The second annual Save the Frogs Day got a larger volunteer base going. I'm still the only full-time Save the Frogs employee, but we've got volunteers around the world. And second annual Save the Frogs Day was the largest day of amphibian education and conservation action in the planet's history. We had 104 events in 21 countries. So very successful, had a lot going on. Mayor of Santa Cruz officially recognized Save the Frogs Day and came out to one of my talks I gave that day at an elementary school. He helped me and the kids make some frog calls. So he's a good frog-friendly politician. He's been a lot of help since I got to Santa Cruz. So here's in Korea. They were celebrating Save the Frogs Day, and they're actually at this site that they had protected a few years back. This is a site where they're down there dancing, and it's the only wetland around. This is Seoul out here, and this is basically a sea of skyscrapers moving down the valley that was headed right for this wetland, and they put a lot of work in and got that protected.
Wow, that's great.
Some students in Nepal. We had scientists out leading people on frog walks, taking people out to see wild amphibians in their native habitat. So that's Brandon Ballinger, who took the photo of the deformed frog. He's an ecologist / artist. Takes pictures of crazy looking frogs to raise awareness of problem with frogs. So you don't have to get dressed up on Save the Frogs Day. They're out there removing weeds to reoxygenate some frog habitat. We had frog legs protests at 4 restaurants in 3 states. There's a restaurant chain that has never replied to any of our 2,000 plus letters we've sent them, asking them to stop serving frog legs. So had some supporters out there protesting, and he's a frog-friendly policeman defending the right to free speech. Le Mans, the largest paper in France, featured Save the Frogs Day and our Frog Legs campaign on the front page on Save the Frogs Day. So I thought that was great because France, they eat a lot of frog legs, and perhaps the first time a lot of these people have ever thought that maybe their frog leg habit has some problems associated with it. Right now we're working on the 3rd annual Save the Frogs Day, which will be April 29th. Save the Frogs Day is always the last Friday of April, so hopefully all of you can get involved, perhaps at Shark Park, which I'll be talking about later, but definitely tell all your local schools and teachers and anyone else who you think may be interested and able to get involved. My goal was Save the Frogs Day. Since I'm the only full-time Save the Frogs employee, it's really up to me to be able to give people the educational materials they need and ideas and motivation and inspiration so that they can go out in their community wherever they are and take action for the frogs.
Let's do it.
So this Save the Frogs Day, one of our big focal points will be atrazine. Atrazine, which turns male frogs into females, the herbicide. 80 million pounds of it used in America, mostly on corn. It's currently under review by the EPA. It's rare that any pesticide that gets approved comes back up for review, but there's such an abundant scientific literature on how many damaging effects it has on wildlife. It's under review right now, so it's really important that we raise awareness in the general public about it. I think the only reason atrazine is legal is because so few people have heard of it. So we're going to have a rally in Washington, D.C. on Save the Frogs Day. So we'll hopefully be making atrazine a common word. I give a lot of public presentations. In 2009 I gave 42. Last year I gave 55. And these are schools, universities, community groups, nonprofits, for-profits. Just trying to get the word out there and get people involved, educated. So that's why I was in Korea. I got invited over there. I gave 4 presentations there. And I was the official U.S. representative at Korea's first International Amphibian Symposium. So it was a really good experience. I learned a lot, and then we got to share lots of ideas and got to see what their amphibian conservation issues are and talk about ways to help. So I gave a talk in high school, got awarded the purple sweatshirt. providing training for scientists. My specialties, chytrid fungus, and I sampled about 3,000 frogs during my PhD, so I spent a lot of time in the lab diagnosing chytrid infection. And I used a method called quantitative PCR, qPCR, which is the most advanced and the best technique, but not many people know how to do it. And so I went down to Panama in October 2009 and taught a 5-day course in Spanish at the Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute to 25 Panamanian, Costa Rican, and Colombian scientists, because they have a huge problem with chytrid down there, and very few people know how to test for it. If you can't test for chytrid fungus, then it's impossible to do your research. So this course, by my estimate, probably doubled the number of people in the world who could use this technique. And we also took our detailed laboratory protocol, put it on SaveTheFrogs.com. It's freely downloadable. It's been downloaded by scientists from 30 plus countries.
That's incredible.
Thank you. So we saved some Florida pig frogs. They're a large frog, a lot of meat on their legs, and restaurant Gary Danko in San Francisco was serving them. So I sent a letter last year to Gary Danko and said, frogs are having a lot of trouble worldwide, and it would be great if you could remove the Florida pig frogs from your menu so that we don't have to protest in front of your restaurant. That seems to have worked. We had one volunteer who sent a letter to the CEO of Wegmans, which is a large supermarket chain on the East Coast, and they removed the frog legs from all 76 of their supermarkets. So sometimes all it takes is writing a letter. I was out there at Uncle Julio's protesting last year, and we got a good kid turnout. I thought this was great because I never solicited kids to come out to the protest, but these two had been at talks I'd given at their schools, and they were on our electronic newsletter list and heard about protests happening, so they grabbed some friends and came out. So I thought that was great. Getting young activists for a life of saving frogs. We had some good success keeping non-native frogs out of California. Last May, I testified at the California Fish and Game Commission hearing, and we got 1,196 letters sent in to them to ask them to stop issuing permits for the importation of non-native frogs and turtles into the state for use as food, which we succeeded with a 3-2 vote.
Yay.
Actually, back to this topic. Yeah, so they stopped issuing permits, but it's not law, and things change as the commission. There's 5 commissioners, and they change all the time, so it's not permanent. So I've been working with the mayor of Santa Cruz to make Santa Cruz the first city in the country to legally ban the importation and sale of American bullfrogs. And once that's looking likely to go through. Once that goes through, it's likely that the county of Santa Cruz will make it law as well. And I also have a proposal in with my state senator, Joe Simidian, to get California to ban the importation and sale of American bullfrogs. So I think that's really important to get that throughout the American West. There's absolutely no reason that American bullfrogs should be allowed into the American West. California tiger salamanders. Last year, I found out that the commission was about to vote on whether to place them, to list them as a threatened species under the California Endangered Species Act. So sent out a letter to our mailing list, and we got 432 letters sent into the commission in 36 hours, and this one with a 3-2 vote also. So it's really important to keep on top of the commission. So everything seems to go with 3-2 vote, so keep the pressure on them, or else it'll go the other way. Protecting wilderness is really important. Habitat destruction, #1 cause of frog extinction worldwide. If we don't protect wilderness, it'll end up looking like that. We had some success in New Zealand. We got 1,250 letters sent to the New Zealand government asking them not to open up critical frog habitat to mining. They wanted to mine there. Hotstetter frog lived there. And more importantly, perhaps the Archie's frog, which has been called the world's #1 most evolutionarily distinct and globally endangered frog species. and they almost certainly would have gone extinct if mining had been allowed on their land. So they're safe for now, but they've had a lot of problems. In the last 15 years or so, about 90% of their population has disappeared, probably from chytrid fungus. So they've got some really cool tadpoles. California red-legged frogs have a lot of problem in the state, as I discussed. Gold miners used to eat them. Now American bullfrogs eat them. There's habitat destruction issues. Luckily in California there's a lot of people working on protecting California red-legged frogs. So one thing we're doing, we just had our first ever outdoor habitat restoration event last Monday. Antonelli Pond on the west side of Santa Cruz. It's an urban pond. It's got a small population of California red-legged frogs. But within a few miles, there's a couple of very large populations. So we think this is a perfect spot for them. But there's a lot of problems at the pond. There's American bullfrogs, there's invasive fish that eat them, and then there's a lot of non-native weeds kind of disturbing their upland habitat. So we got 40 volunteers out there last Monday to clear out weeds, and we'll be out there pretty much monthly for this year working on that pond and clearing out all the invasives so that the red-legged frog populations increase. We actually got $5,000 from Patagonia for this project. It's our first and only grant to date, first of many hopefully. So all you, I think, probably know about Shark Park, and Brent Plater couldn't be here. He's doing really good work with Wild Equity Institute to get Shark Park turned over from its current golf course state into the national park system, Golden Gate National Recreation Area. So I was out there with Brent about a month ago, right when it was raining a lot, and this is the golf course right here. You obviously can't have a golf course that's covered in water, so the city of San Francisco, who owns it, is just pumping that water out to sea. So what really struck me about this that was crazy is it's not just about the occasional frog or snake that gets killed, it's an entire wetlands ecosystem that's just being destroyed by the city. And it's, I think, a really excellent place to get turned over to protect habitat. If this were restored to its natural wetland ecosystem, there'd be all kinds of wildlife, birds, frogs, snakes, everything living down there. So hopefully on Save the Frogs Day, all of you can show up at Shark Park and make sure people know that Pacificans want Shark Park as wetlands. And also I think it'd be good if you know people in San Francisco, get them out in front of City Hall with some signs, raise awareness, because in San Francisco I know people I ask don't know much about what's happening in Shark Park, but San Francisco politicians kind of in charge, so you gotta get them on our side.
Good.
Acquiring critical habitat is very important. Save the Frogs doesn't have money for this yet, but it's certainly one of our long-term goals to be able to purchase rainforest where there's lots of critically endangered species, and then land right in California, especially for the Santa Cruz long-toed salamanders. They're one of the world's most endangered salamander species. There's only 22 populations left. 20 of them live in Santa Cruz County, a couple in Monterey, and they're pretty much all surrounded by some pretty bad farmland or housing developments, roads. They've got lots of problems, and they need some extra land to keep them safe. Clear Channel gave us free ad space in some major airports worldwide, so this is a big poster that we got up at Chicago O'Hare, Denver, and a few other airports for the International Day of Climate Action, and to raise awareness, make sure people know that climate change is a problem now, not just in the future. Save the Frogs art contest has been really successful. This is for any artist of any age, but definitely one of the goals is for students and teachers, so that any kind of teacher, whether they're a biology teacher or not, hopefully we can give them something they can do to get their students involved in learning about frogs, excited about frogs. This is actually our 2010 Save the Frogs art contest grand prize winner by Beth Hinson from Texas.
Very cool.
Last year, this is by someone from San Francisco, drew up that one. So we had 886 entries from 17 countries. It's the first piece of frog art ever submitted to Save the Frogs. This one came from Hawaii, from a 13-year-old.
Oh my God.
That's from one of the kids who was protesting at the restaurant.
That is so cute.
That's a good one.
And this is a San Francisco State University student. So we also have a poetry contest. Last year we got 776 frog poems from 26 countries. And we're working on putting the best frog poetry in a book with the best frog art to sell and raise awareness, raise some funds for Save the Frogs. So I'll recite the 2009 Save the Frogs Poetry Contest Grand Prize winner. Written by Brittany Bellinger from Stockton, California, age 12, called Almost Gone. Frogs, the pinwheel of our earth, the binding of our book, the balance of our world, almost gone. The wheel will slowly stop turning, the binding slowly unravel, the balance disturbed. Frogs, the glue holding our ecosystem together, slowly beginning to fade like the perfect morning, fading to a thick canopy of darkness. Our world as we know it will change. The frogs are the answer, the key to turn the lock, the cure to many diseases, but they're almost gone. What will you do?
Bravo.
This year we started the Build a Frog Pond contest. So the goal is to get people, landowners, and schools out building frog ponds to create more habitat for frogs. And then the contest is document what you did with video or photos, essay, tell us about your success so we can put it up on our website and educate and inspire other people to go out building ponds. So our goal is to get 200 frog ponds built this year. If anyone wants to help build a frog pond, let me know. The Race to Stop Dissection contest we're starting this year. Dissections, I think, it's one of those things that's just a simple thing, a simple way to help protect the environment. Don't dissect frogs. Global warming's kind of hard to stop. Pollution, pesticides being made by companies with tens of billions of dollars to lobby with, pretty difficult to stop. But dissections out of schools, there's no reason to be dissecting frogs anymore. There's virtual, digital software alternatives, and also I'm not even sure that the knowledge you gain from dissecting a frog is of any value. I've never dissected a frog, but I made it this far in the world of amphibian biology. So,
the kids hate it.
Yeah, I don't even think people like it. And so we had some success. I gave a talk in a Santa Clara school in November or December, and the teacher there, he was the last teacher in Santa Clara Unified School District dissecting frog. He gave up their dissection program, so that saved 160 wild-caught northern leopard frogs every year. And then a few weeks ago I sent out a newsletter, and it just had one line mentioning dissections. They haven't really announced the dissection thing yet. It's just about, it's 99% done, the web page. So pretty soon I'll announce all this. But I put one sentence in the newsletter about dissections, and a 4th grade member of Save the Frogs read it, and his school was about to dissect frogs, and he talked to his teacher and got their elementary school to stop dissecting frogs. So that's great. So the contest basically is getting students and teachers out there doing the work. Let them do the work, learn how to organize and campaign, and share, enjoy the success from it. Providing scholarships and grants. Currently we have a few $500 awards. Certainly one of my